Now obviously guys, I ain't religious in the slightest and never would be, short of God coming down and smiting me himself or something like that. But even though I don't believe myself, that doesn't mean I don't understand how important religion is to people, or that I'm unaware of its claims to be open for all. Well, at this point that can't be said of the Catholic Church anymore, because they've gone full medical zealot alongside the likes of Tony Blair or Poundland Rod Stewart.
For me, it's a no-brainer. From a business point of view, it's a must. And, you know, the quicker that everybody acknowledges that, without proof of the vaccine, you can't go into a pub, club, restaurant, gymnasium, anywhere at all. You can't travel, theatre. You can't even go into work. I mean, personally, I have to say, I don't even think that we should allow people on the streets unless they've had the vaccine.
What a wanker.
Yes, the Vatican is restricting who can visit the city based on medical treatments and testing. Obviously, as you know, this sort of lunacy appears to be infectious at this point. We have all seen 18 months of contagious herd stupidity, so it's not really that surprising at all. But today I want to focus on the BBC and Sadiq Khan more than I do any church. You know, the odious little toad running London into the ground and the Bolshevik Broadcasting Corporation that everyone hates. Well, like the Catholic Church, they are on the way to going full shit rod with complete lunacy and love of medical mandates. It doesn't even matter if it's masks or passes, they literally want them all. Khan, as you know, screamed about needing these masks in place despite no evidence that it works, and actually tried to have bylaws put in place that would allow him to mandate it in London. Thankfully this failed, and instead he had to try and use conditions of carriage to push it on buses and trains, which is the peak of his power, it would seem. Shit, it must be pretty embarrassing when the most control you have is buses and trains like a snivelling shit weasel. All these power-mad tyrants around the world in full view have made him feel a little bit left out because he's got no real power, clearly. Anyway, at this point I'm pleased to report that most of the people in London have not paid attention to his conditions of carriage nonsense. In fact, most people I see using buses are maskless and happy without a care in the world. Obviously, I don't see the tube as that's underground, but I expect the same is true there. Plus, didn't studies come up saying public transport is safe and all of this shit before? Mind you though, when does evidence proving these idiots wrong mean anything to them at the end of the day? They carry on with the bullshit regardless of being caught out lying, as we have seen many times. Anyway though, Sadiq Khan was talking to Andrew Marr on Sunday, loving his masks and that, but remaining pretty timid on these medical passports. Andrew Marr, on the other hand, you can see, is pushing them like he has shares in the company that's running the programme.
Another way of dealing with the problem, if there is a real problem this winter, would be vaccine passports. Very, very controversial, but an awful lot of businesses, a lot of pub owners, a lot of restaurant owners think this is the only way to keep them open. What's your position?
We're not there yet. I'm really supportive.
Are you, in principle, against them or not?
In principle, not against them. I'm really keen, though, to support our hospitality, our cultural, our nighttime industries. The good news is, because of the responsibility of Londoners in having their jab, the numbers in London are pretty stable. The transmission rate is stable. The case number is stable. The numbers of people with COVID in hospitals is far less than it was before Christmas, but we must be vigilant. So I support the government having in their back pocket other things we can do if needed. One of the things I'm lobbying for now...
What would have to happen for them to take vaccine passports out of the back pocket and use them in London?
There's a trigger point, and so we're working with the government about what the trigger points are. So the two big things to look at is case numbers in London. London currently, as an average, less than the rest of the country. And the second point is the R number, the reproduction rate. If that goes too high, we've got to make sure we use other things.
Do you have a number in your mind?
No, that's one of the things we'll talk with PHE and the NHS. But there's a couple of things we can be doing, which I think we're not. One is I think we should have face masks compulsory on public transport. This voluntary system, this condition of carriage isn't working as effectively as before. And secondly, we need to make sure we have better ventilation in our schools.
Sure. I'm just interested because on vaccine passports, you disagree with Keir Starmer. He said they were un-British and he was against them in principle.
Well, I think we may need vaccine passports. I think we're not there yet, but we may need them.
Talking of Keir Starmer,
now obviously Khan is a complete toad throughout, loving his mask mandates, but like I said, is a bit weak on pushing for the passports. Obviously he will support them, but first I think he wants his mask mandate like I said. Really though, I've got to question Andrew Marr and his push for the medical passports that no one wants. I also have to question where Andrew Marr got the information that lots of pub owners and shit like that want medical papers please at the door. From what I have seen and heard, very few, if any, actually want 1940s Europe enacted here in 2021. And as expected, he provides no evidence to back up the bullshit he's spewing, so I have to once again call complete bullshit on it. Especially as, like I've covered before, many hospitality businesses have prepared legal action should papers please be required in the future. This means, like I've said, the BBC are talking complete and utter bollocks if you ask me. Now obviously Khan don't really seem that interested in it, but the BBC is determined to get them put in place as you can tell, and as soon as possible by the way they're pushing it on him. At this point it hardly seems impartial to me, because not once does Andrew Marr point out how many people are against this or the reasons why. He only said they're controversial, which is an understatement as you all know. But this is the BBC setting the narrative, not reporting the news, which we know that they love to do, but I'm pretty sure it's not what the taxpayers are funding it for. Now, this was not the only time he acted like this with jab passports, but I think I will deal with that in a separate video, as it involves the Lib Dems and a complete shit show. For now though, that's all I have on this story we've got here. Remember to check out the links down below to support the channel on other platforms, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Well,